All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer so rough. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me know what set me if it could flee. Me have to take away me say. Me have to take away me say. Me have to hide like a thief in the night. Me have to get out outside. Me have to take away me say.
Greetings, kings and queens. Welcome to another Real Stuff podcast. Today is Tuesday and we call it Discussion Tuesday. And our special guest this morning is none other than Mr. DEBON Panton. Yes, he's our returning guest from last week. So, we're going to continue from where we left off last week. And I think last week we were discussing about sacred Dwarves, aka Dwarf Spirit. So, sit and stay. Let me get the panel in to the chat room this morning. We're going to be doing live by Zoom. So, I'm going to make sure I get Flavius here online as well and see how many participants we're going to have this morning. So, in the meantime, keep it locked. Don't go nowhere.
Take away myself, I have to utilize I breathe. Show the eye a clean pair of heels. I say, been there, done that, don't need it again, yeah. I'm not a master, guess who won't play your game, yeah. Through the door, take away ourselves.
Shulohale Wadani, our time has come. Shulohale Wadani, our time has come.
Babadu badu badade, dade, dade da babadu badadu. Babadu badu badade, haye. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my kin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my kin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Captured us from our homeland, sold us into a foreign land. What woe, what pain, what misery. 400 years of slavery, shackles, scars, and degrading. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my kin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is the sin, I ain't apologizing. Proudness of our heritage and history. Brand us like animals, they scored us mentally. Used us for entertainment and debauchery. Destroying the family. Let's fight the demons of slavery. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my kin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is a sin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my kin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is a sin, I ain't apologizing. Let's rise above hypocrisy. Use education as our directory. Free all.
Welcome, Debon. Welcome, Debon.
Yes, man. Yes, man.
Okay.
Nice being here.
Yeah. I'm glad you're here. I only see you alone in the room, so I'm gonna give them another 5 more minutes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
All right, cool.
Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my kin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is a sin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. Black is my kin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes, color of my skin. If black is a sin, I ain't apologizing. Color of my eyes to the color of my skin. Black is my kin, I ain't apologizing. The color of my eyes, the color of my skin. I ain't apologizing for my black skin. Proud of me blackness. Yeah. Proud of me black skin. Mama Africa, I want me come from you. Me say me proud of me black skin. Me nah go bleach out my black skin. Me say me proud of me black skin. Nah go bleach out this black skin. No. Black skin, proud of me black skin, yeah. Me nah apologize. No. Proud of me black skin, yeah. Proud of me black skin, yeah.
Yes, my listeners. I got Flavius here with me, and I have Debon in the room waiting. Top of the morning, Flavius. Top of the morning.
Morning, Franco, and morning, listeners.
What's happening in
We
your
have enough powerful rain. I can hardly hear.
Rain.
That's how much rain is coming down, man.
So this morning, no sunshine.
No. Sun is resting today.
Well, at least you have something. You're getting water to water the
Yeah,
land.
man,
Flourish.
yeah, man,
The land make crops
we
grow.
got lots of water. Yeah,
We need it.
yeah, man, lots of water. No problem with water this morning.
So,
Really, it looked like the whole climate change thing is circling back, because when I was younger, they used to tell you about May rains. all month of May is rain, but rain is just starting at the end of the month.
Never gone, man.
You know?
Never gone. It never gone. So we're gonna it's now 10 past the hour, and I have Debon in the room. So Devon, you're gonna make a presentation again this morning?
Yeah. This one is very short though.
Okay, no problem. Well, we're gonna just bring in and make you go ahead and make your presentation, and then when they
a couple more minutes, you know.
All right. We'll hold a couple more minutes then. All right, we're going to hear Cover Me from Tasha Williams, and then we're going to see how many people join in the chat room this morning. All right? Tasha Williams with Cover Me.
Mothers against their daughters, fathers against their sons. Watch out for the deceivers.
Shulu Hale Wadani, our time has come. Shulu Hale Wadani, our time has come.
When over me, shield and my defense. Cover me, cover me, cover me. Cover me, cover me, cover me, oh, cover me. There is a change coming. Don't you feel the wind blowing? I can feel the chill, evil on the rise. Will you take that pill or stand firm in its will? Your money, your name will not be able to help you. No. Fame or lame won't be able to save you. You got to be covered under the blood of the Almighty. You got to be covered. The Almighty, covered under His blood. Nothing here is strange. Mankind is deranged. He said this in His word, or didn't you observe? Nation rise against nation, famine and pestilence all around me. Oh, what a shift! The world is in a ditch. Mothers against their daughters, fathers against their sons. Watch out for the deceivers, proclaiming to be the Messiah. Wars and rumors of war. Still there is only one way. You got to be
Yes, indeed. Covered by Tashias Williams. And this morning, as we have with us this morning, Mr. DEBON Panton, and it's Discussion Tuesday. As I always said, if it's Tuesday, it's Discussion Tuesday. And we're going to be continue from where we left off last Tuesday. I mean, it was a special request. The people them love it, them want it again, right, Flavius?
Oh yes.
It's part 2 of Sacred Dwarfs, aka Dwarf Spirit, and none other than DEBON Panton to do the honors once again, and lead us off. But I want to let you know that we have some interesting thing coming up in June, right, Flavius?
June.
The Maroon Conference and Festival, another virtual event again. You want to give them a little enlightenment on it?
Yeah, every year, this is the 12th year. Although there was one, a small thing last year during the pandemic, but that aside, it's the 12th year of the annual International Charleston Maroon Conference and Festival. It's normally a 4-day event, but this year, because of the continuation of the COVID pandemic, it's going to be a 2-day and a 2-day virtual event, on the 23rd and 24th of June. The conference is always anchored by the 23rd of June, because that was the date that the British begged and signed the peace treaty with the Maroons. They couldn't take it anymore, so they say, let's have a peace treaty. Let the fighting stop. So that's a very important day. That day is always celebrated as Quau's Day with the Charleston Maroons, because Captain Quau was the actual person who signed the peace treaty on that day. So we're looking for that. But starting next week, we also have Wednesday. Wednesday has become special in June now, starting in June, where we have the Caribbean music legends. We're going to be honoring and celebrating our music legend each Wednesday from now. I don't know how long it will go on, but we have so many legends. So we're going to try and get them on to speak to us about their journey and for us to hear some of their stories and some of their music. So that is starting next Wednesday, every Wednesday for a while. We will be having Caribbean music legends. Next week, we're going to start with a legend out of Jamaica, Miss Pam Hall, who has been around for a very, very long time with a very wonderful voice. So we're going to speak to her. And then the following Wednesday, we're going to have a man affectionately known as Bo. Bo Inkens can't pronounce the last name too well. But he is out of St. Lucia, and he is a brilliant Caribbean musician. And the following week, we will have Richard Stout out of Barbados. Man with a wonderful voice. And then the following week is the Maroon Conference. And then the final Wednesday for June, we're going to have Wilton Gainier Jr. come to speak about his father, Wilton Bogey Bra Gainier, out of Jamaica. So that is the lineup. That is the lineup for June.
All right. So.
And then through the first Tuesday in June, we have first Tuesday every month. We're going to be having our Outlook, Indigenous Outlook. It's a platform and a space for Indigenous people to come and enlighten us about themselves, all indigenous people around the world. So we're going to be scheduling, discussions and all that from the indigenous community worldwide. Yeah, Franco.
Yeah, sound good. Okay. Sound good. So,
yeah, very interesting. I am looking forward to all of this. Yes.
All right, a big treat for all of us.
Oh yes.
Without any further ado, should we bring in DEBON now? DEBON? I'm not hearing him, so let me see where we can find. Oh, yeah, DEBON is again. I think we're going to have to bring you in, DEBON.
Yeah, man, please do.
All right, come on in, DEBON. Ready when you're ready. I can't hear your mic. Hold on. All right, I hear you now. Go ahead.
All right, any better?
Yeah, man, I hear you now.
Okay. Thanks much for having me again. It was a stretch to make it back this week, but I managed to do it.
I'm glad you were able to make it.
I say, the one you have to come back again, Anyway, not a problem. This week's present, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna ask if you can allow me to share my screen.
Yeah, man, go ahead. Hold on, let me bring you in again. Share your screen. All right. There you go.
All right. I need to get this thing started. Yes, okay. Are you able to see that now?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm seeing it.
All right, okay. This week, the presentation I'm doing this week came out of the discussion that took place last week. Is mostly from the points that were raised.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that more people aren't here now, but then they can always log in and can always visit YouTube and watch the presentation. I think his name was Courtney. He asked about Transcendental and Medication and the Unification Church that falls on the new religious movement. We spoke a bit about blood sacrifice. I'm going to show that across 4 different religions that are taking place today. We also spoke about Haitian Vodun dolls. I'm going to take a look at that. And finally, I think it was your co-host, Francine, spoke about wishing well,
She's not here yet.
Yes, I am. All right. I haven't prepared anything specific about sacred doors, but any question that is asked, I will do my best to answer it. All right. As I said, the Courtney, I think his name was, spoke about the new religious movement. And it's generally a category of religions or spiritual or religious practices that has taken place, say from the mid-1800s coming to today. And to include a number of, across them, there's a number of commonalities. We take a look at some of these. They offer innovative religious responses to conditions, modern era. They represent themselves as rooted in ancient traditions, but are usually regarded as countercultural. In the 60s, you would have heard of the counterculture, the hippies, the flower power, whatever they call it. And, they offer themselves as an alternative to mainstream religion, primarily Christianity. And it's not as though we are singling out Christianity for special treatment. It's just that Christianity is one of the more prominent religions in most areas. Islam is also prominent too, but that tend not to be as widespread as Christianity. So anyway, they are normally seen as being an alternative to, Western religion. Highly eclectic, pluralistic, syncretistic. They freely combine doctrines and practices from diverse sources within their belief systems. And by that, it means you might come across one of them. And I'm going to give you a list of maybe about 4 or 5. You may come across one of them that have elements of Hinduism, elements of, the Brahma spiritual tradition, the Sikhs. You might have something that deals with Zen, etc. They tend to be that kind of thing, although there are others who are probably closer to mainstream. But this is what they generally tend to look like. Some of the traditions that are regarded as new religious movements are Scientology, Theosophy, transcendental medication. I think Courtney had meant he wanted to speak about transcendental medication, but I wasn't prepared for it last week. Then he also asked about unification and church, so I took special effort to include them in this discussion. And the last one I'm going to look at is the Hare Krishna. And when I say look at, I'm not going to go into great detail. I'm just going to skim the surface, tell you about where they started the year and maybe the founder. And then I'm going to go on to some other dam. The question that he wanted to know was why it is that these seem to have taken over, as he put it. I put taken over in quotation marks. And I'll speak a little to that. Scientology, we're going to look at some of the symbolisms, the logos, etc. that's associated with all of these five here. And, where they started. Scientology, these are three of the symbols that you will see. The double triangle with the S, the cross with the special thing across it, and what could be called their coat of arms. I'm not sure if that is what they call it, but this was founded in 1954 by L. Ron Hubbard's teachings, and the Scientology, spiritual tradition of Scientology religion is now headed by David Miscavige. I'm not sure if that is how to pronounce his name. It all started in South Carolina, and just surface research, Google, says that it has moved out of Southern California. It is growing. The next one I'm going to look at is Theosophy. This is a religion established in the United States in the late 19th century. I think this was towards 1895. It was founded primarily by a Russian immigrant, Helena Blavatsky, and it involves, elements of Hinduism and Brahmaism somewhere in there. This is what it is. I'm not going to go any deeper. Transcendental medication. Here we see something that was started by Indian guru Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and it involves the whole business of detaching oneself from anxiety and promoting harmony and self-realization by meditation, repetition of a mantra, and other yogic practices. While reading, I saw where they said that this can to some extent become a little risky, as there's the possibility of one disconnecting oneself from reality and living in a so-called bubble. But this is transcendental medication. Next one I'm looking at is Unification Church, another one asked for by Courtney. The Holy Spirit Association of Unification of World Christianity. It was started in South Korea by Reverend, actually should be Dr. Reverend Sun Myung Moon. The participants are the members of this organization are pejoratively referred to as Moonies, and that is because Moon, that's the name of the founder in 54. Within the tradition, he's thought of as being almost like a god, the ideal human being, the ideal, living person, and everyone tries to be exactly like him. In some areas, persons may refer to this as a cult. I'm not in a position to say whether it is or isn't. But, the moon that is how they are referred to. Then the Hare Krishna, the ISK-Con, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Hare Krishna. And, this started in New York, 1966 by A.C. Bhaktivedanta. I'm not going to try and pronounce that name, is that Indian? One of them, Hindu, yogi kind of person. These all and others, and I've only looked at 4 or 5 here. The list that I saw consisted of about 10, and that was not exhaustive. There are significantly more members or group religions that fall within this new religious movement. Courtney wanted to know why they have taken over. Well, I wouldn't say that they have taken over. The research literature says that Christianity and Islam, in fact, Islam, I think, has surpassed Christianity now as the fastest growing religion worldwide. And that is part of the problem, regardless of how it manifests itself, whether it's for oil or, nuclear this or nuclear that, is about religion. The problem is that the Christians They are no longer the fastest growing. Again, I'm not targeting Christianity, it's just what literature says. I don't know that they are. The new religious movements have taken over. And it all depends on the mindset of the people. The people who are now connecting themselves with religion, maybe persons between, say, 18 and 35, 40. And this new generation, you know, it involves persons who are Generation Z, you know, and some millennials too. They may not necessarily want to connect themselves with an old religious establishment. They prefer to think of themselves as free thinkers. And so they, you know, I can see how this could be very appealing to them, you know. The business of the Bible and the Ten Commandments and the Allah and the Holy Torah, the Holy Quran, you know, these are established orders, and, you know, they have a central theme. Judaism is centered in Israel, you know, Islam is in the Middle East, Christianity is in Europe, I think. The Pope and England, Pope being Catholic, England being Anglican, the Church of England, Protestant. And so the group of persons who are now joining religion may not necessarily want to connect themselves with these old established orders. The new religious movements offer a lot of freedom. They are not as, you know, the rules are not as rigid, as regimented as the older system. So I can see, you know, why they would perhaps find this kind of thinking, a new wave idea, to be a little more appealing. So that could be why they appear to be, you know, taking over, as Courtney had said. He did ask about using your mind to generate wealth. I don't think he meant it literally. Unfortunately for me at the time, I was thinking along those lines. What I think he was asking about was the whole business of thinking it into being, you know, not so much money, but attracting positive energy and stating what it is that you want, and, you know, making it a reality. You will it into being. I've heard that expression many times, and that certainly is consistent with some of these religions that fall under the new religious movement. Certainly, another one that is there too was Branch Davidian. You know, would have heard of David Koresh and the Waco massacre in Texas. A couple others too. I don't remember them now, but these are all traditions, or, you know, religions that are quote unquote modern day. They tend not to speak so much about, you know, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or the old participants in the old established order. There are new participants. You have, I'm not sure if the Baha'i faith is one of them, but certainly Baha'u'llah would be one of the new, and he's based, I think, in Swaziland, somewhere in East Africa. But again, it's a way of getting away from the old established order, and persons find this more appealing, you know, more in keeping with the way they think nowadays. So, you know, that is perhaps why it might appear that they are taking over. But again, I don't necessarily subscribe to the fact that the new religious movements have taken over. They may be in the process, they may very well be in the process of taking over, but I don't think they have gotten there yet. Islam and Christianity are still the two fastest growing religions. So that is where that is. Like I said this morning, the presentation is going to be significantly shorter than last week. We're going to be looking now at blood sacrifice. And for starters, the next slide will introduce blood sacrifice. For starters, all old religion, no matter what they say now, every single one of them participated at some point in human sacrifice. It is the way, you know, it is the way it was back then. If you remember, I think the lamb in the burning bush, when, you know, one character was expected to sacrifice his son and he was stopped, and there was a lamb caught by its horn in a thicket, you know, and so that tradition, the old, you know, Judaism morphing into modern day Christianity, for want of a better expression, I sort of moved away from that. most of the other traditions have done that too, although unfortunately there are a couple that still practice some elements of human sacrifice. You may have read where albino children at some places in Africa, they're slaughtered, their limbs are hacked off of their body and made offered into sacrifice. That's quite tragic, but you know, that's the reality that we face. Slide 9. This is a slide that looks at blood sacrifice in 4 traditions. The first one is Jewish. Yes, they have the Jewish sacrifice in the kaparo sacrifice, and what happens then is that the sins of the person, the chicken or whatever it is swung over the head of the person's head, I think 3 times, and the sins of that person between that point and the last time the person did the ritual, the sins of that person is taken on into the chicken, and the chicken is slaughtered, and it is eaten, yes, but it is normally sent to some charity organization where they are prepared and given to the less fortunate. In Yoruba, the second one, you will see the head of a dog. That tells me that this sacrifice is to Orisha Ogun. Ogun is one of the divinities within the Yoruba Orisha pantheon, and he is the Orisha of battles and Orisha of war, military strategy, weapons. He's a smith, blacksmith, and yes, the dog is eaten afterwards. The head is placed on the altar as an offering, presented to the Orisha. The Islamic sacrifice, that is called the Eboriro, that is in Yoruba land, Nigeria. The Islamic sacrifice is normally a camel, and is the Eid al-Adha, that means feast of the sacrifice. And the camel is prepared and eaten too. That is also, blood sacrifice. Now, Christianity has done something, to their sacrifice. They have changed it. It's now a symbolic, it's not a, granted the purists will say it's not symbolic, because at the point where you take the wine to your lips, it then becomes the actual living blood of Jesus Christ, and the bread then becomes his body, which is just a reflection of what took place before, the traditions from which it was adopted. The Christians may not want to hear this, but like I said before, the animals that are sacrificed are eaten. And so we see here where Christ is being sacrificed symbolically, and his blood and his body is being eaten symbolically as well. Nothing is wrong with that. It's just the way Christianity has done theirs. So this is really how it is. For the traditions that exist that use real animals, it has to be a living animal that is slaughtered on site. Living blood is used, has to be. As I said last week, blood is a giver of life and is used to appease whichever divinity is being, the sacrifice is being made to. All the divinities, what I've found so far, they love blood and they love alcohol, right? Some divinity also takes milk, some also takes honey, some also takes, some takes water, some takes soda, regular pop soda, orange juice, Coca-Cola. That has happened. That is happening too. I mean, I can't go into great detail as to how it is done or what it is or which traditions these are, but they do in fact happen. And we're going to move on now to voodoo. Last week we were talking about voodoo, and I said that voodoo, the center of voodoo is in Haiti, Benin. And that Haitian voodoo differs because it is a conglomerate, a grouping or a mixing. And you see here, voodoo. Benin is the original center of all voodoo. Benin, then known as the Dahomey Kingdom, is where voodoo was birthed, right next to Nigeria. So what you find happening is that the closer you are to Nigeria, the closer you are to Benin, depending on where you are within the area, you might find some of the Yoruba divinities are also part of Benin, part of the voodoo. For instance, Orisha Eshu, also known as Eshu Elegbara, he is also part of the voodoo pantheon, and in Haiti, he's been adopted as Papa Legba. You may have heard of that. It's not fine. But he is also part of the voodoo tradition. Orisha Ogun, I showed you the sacrifice to Ogun a while ago, the dog head. Yes, Ogun is also part of voodoo. He's also, supplicated to, also worshipped within voodoo. And as I said, Haitian voodoo is a mix of Benin voodoo, the Bantu Congo spiritual tradition, Roman Catholicism, and others. The voodoo doll is not from Benin. It's not from Benin voodoo. Instead, it's adoption of the Nkisi power figure from the Bantu Congo spiritual tradition. We had this discussion last week. And maybe I should be a little more inclusive in this particular point, because there are a number of traditions that use voodoo dolls. Some of these are like Wicca. You may have heard of Wiccan. Hoodoo, that's another tradition in southern US. Hoodoo is a mixture of Benin voodoo and some European spiritual tradition, as well as some Native American herbal medicine. That's hoodoo. And they all use a voodoo doll. So maybe saying it is the Haitian voodoo is an adoption from the Nkisi power figure, may not be complete. It could also have come from some other areas, but that is what it is. I'm also saying to you, when you're looking at the voodoo dolls, you have to make an allowance for dolls that are made for souvenir and memorabilia items. These are not dolls that you can use for spiritual work. Then you look at dolls that are made for TV purpose. The sensationalized one where you stick the pin through them. Sometimes it's the blood coming from the doll itself. Then you have dolls that are made for actual spiritual work. I'm going to take a look. I'm going to show you very briefly what these look like. These are the TV dolls. Yes, this isn't real voodoo. This is more sensational, you notice. This one is pin sticking through where the heart is supposed to be. And of course, when that happens, you find a person just holding them left side of them chest and just collapse on the floor. I mean, it's not real, it's just sensationalism. Then we're going to look at the real, genuine Haitian voodoo dolls. And I'm sure that there are others that look different from these, but this is what they look like. These are spiritual artifacts that are used in rituals. It's not the sensational thing where the pins and needles they can stick through and all of that. I am unable to say whether or not these dolls are actually stuck with pins. I don't know. I haven't really looked at Haitian voodoo. That is not within the scope of my study. So I really don't know if you notice at the section here, this leg, it says Haiti, AJITI, AG, and I don't know what AG is supposed to mean. But there are a lot of buttons and chains and all of that. Feather, human hair. This is part of the whole thing of, voodoo. Human hair is something that is very big within the Congolese spiritual tradition. They have what you call the metal cauldron. And what happens, the Bantu region in Africa is primarily migratory people. And in order to keep themselves close to their ancestors, when their ancestors die, they carry around body parts in the metal cauldron. Body parts include like fingers, or like tufts of hair cut from the head of the deceased. You may have skulls, and you may have hair shaved, not hair, skin shaved off the foot bottom of the deceased. And these are kept to keep them in close connection with their ancestors. This is how it is within the Congo. We're going to look at some artifacts from which this voodoo doll, thing within Haiti may have come. I spoke about the Nkisi power figure. This is what they look like. I'm not sure if you have ever seen any of these before, but they're all over the internet. What you have is each of these nails means something, and no, whenever the nail is being driven into the statuette, there's nobody feeling it anywhere else. What happens? Nkisi power figures, Nkisi-Nkondi, Nkisi power figures are made for a number of reasons. One, they can be made to seal deals, so to speak, agreements, for protection of the village. In a situation where one villager steals from another, yes, a nail is driven into the Nkisi that was made for that agreement. But as a nail is being driven in, the person doesn't feel it. What it says is that, what it does is that the spirit that resides in this power figure actually goes and punishes that person. And punishment can be death. It can be, the crops die out, or, some sickness or whatever. But it's not the way it is made to appear on TV. As I said, that was just for sensationalism. I'm not going to say anything more about this. Just that, again, when the nails are being driven in, there's nobody feeling anything, And, the Nkisi power figures can also be animals. Those are called Nkisi-Kozo, and this is what they look like. Again, this is from the Bantu spiritual tradition, and Haiti is a mixing of Benin voodoo and the Bantu Congo spiritual tradition. This is a double-headed alligator. I think this is a dog here. Not sure. But it's the same idea. These are created to make these, and they're activated by the Bantu Congo priest, who's an Nganga. A male priest is a Tata Nganga, and the female is Mama Nganga. It is activated by driving a special nail somewhere in the statue. I'm not going to get into that in the statuette. And it then becomes active. The spirit then possesses the artifact. And if a deal is broken and someone needs to be punished, then the priest knows exactly what to do. And when I say priest, I'm not being gender specific, could be male or female. So when the priest or priestess has to do work to punish that person, someone stole something from me and I know who it is, I will go to the priest. He will do a divination to see who it is that did the stealing. And if I may be wrong, I may have assumed that it was John Brown and Israeli John Jacobs that did the stealing, or a totally different person, and that person has to be punished. Then these entities, these artifacts come into play. All right. Now I think we're at the end here. As I said, this is the wishing well. This is Francine's thing. Yeah. I'm not laughing at you, my friend. What you see on TV with persons going to the well and throwing coins in and making a wish, and before they move away, the wish comes true. It doesn't work like that, The wishing well, it tends to be connected to Europe, although similar practices exist, or similar things exist right around the world. It normally involves a body of water. And resident in the water are entities that we refer to as water spirits. And so persons would go, water could be in the form of a stream, a lake, a pond. Like I said last week, in the African spiritual traditions, and I'm sure it also exists in Europe back then, before Christianity. There are sacred places, sacred lakes, sacred rivers, sacred ponds, sacred valleys, sacred rocks, sacred trees, and these locations are occupied by spirits that reside in water, whether salt water or seawater. They're regarded as water spirits. And in order to make a wish, one is normally required to provide an offering. The offering wasn't always money. So when the offering is made and the wish is sometimes is articulated, is said out loud, or sometimes it is just said within one's mind. And it doesn't happen that before you move back, before you move away, the wish is granted. It's not the same as a wish anyway. You can't wish for $1 million and before you reach home, the $1 million is there waiting on it. It doesn't work like that. It's normally a wish that would bring back balance. Something has been done to upset balance, and you're trying to regain balance to get you back in the position that you would have been before whatever it is that took place actually happened. It's a very old tradition normally collected with Europe, as I said, but there's great similarity with practice from a number of places worldwide. Signifies a sacred stream, sacred pool of water in which water spirits reside. Gifts are thrown in, as requests are asked of the resident spirit. And, these requests are made very respectfully. In Africa, there are what we call the oriki. The oriki, these are praise songs that you say to activate or to encourage the water spirit, or whichever spirit you're supplicating to activate, to actually bring them to you, and then you make your offering. And when I say bring them to you, it doesn't mean that you're going to see a humanoid figure coming up. It doesn't work like that. All right. These are not always money. Sometimes it's food, other items. Persons would use items that are very important to their family. Family heirlooms is not necessarily money, it's just that in today's world, what normally happens is that coins are used, because coins can be seen right at the bottom of the thing, and the objective is to make it is for sensationalism. So you see coins down there, all kind of coins from all over the world, and it encourages more visitors to come and put money in there. But this is how it is. Not always money. As I said, in some traditions, the wishes are voiced aloud. In others, they are, made. You just think about them. The water spirits are resident. You put your offering, whether food or money or something that means a whole lot to you, the person who wants to have the wish or wants to have the request dealt with. You offer that to whichever divinity is there, divinity/water spirit, the same thing, and you make your wish, and you go about your business, and if it works, you will get whatever it is that you ask, or if it doesn't, then you go back and do it again another time. That is how it normally is. But this has been, of course, romanticized according to Francine, where you throw the water in there, throw the money in there, and before you move off, your wish is granted. It doesn't really work like that. Right. Again, it's sensationalism. So too is the voodoo doll. It doesn't really work like that in the real spiritual work. All right. So what has been morphed in the modern day, wishing well. And that about brings it to the end. But before I end, I'd like to say something more about the sacred dwarves, the topic we touched on last week. These are entities that form part of the spiritual tradition of a number of spiritual traditions, and these are entities that are used to do spiritual work. Like I said last week, in Ghana, and I think in St. Lucia. In St. Lucia, they're called tibolums. There's a story of them being seen in banks. And I made mention that in Ghana, there's a thing called ritual crimes, in which the muetias are used to rob banks, and to rob businesses, to collect money, to bring money to whoever it is that sends them out. It's the same concept where you actually, in the quote-unquote realm of Obia, where spirits are summoned and they're asked to go out and do work. This work can either be good or bad. A woman whose son or a man whose son is going to do an exam and he wants to ensure that it gets passed. In addition to studying, he asks the spirits to guide his thoughts, and things of that nature. We can argue about whether or not that is good or bad. I think on a previous program, Franco said he regarded it as being bad. You have to do the work yourself. For me, it's neither good nor bad. But then if you have your neighbor's daughter is very pretty, and you want to ensure that in old Jamaica they would say you want to turn her down, meaning she must not benefit or experience any kind of success, then you would send a different kind of entity to go and do that. That I would willingly admit is bad, But again, the tradition themselves is not intrinsically evil. I tend not to use the word evil. They're not good or bad, depends on how you use them. So the sacred dwarves, they're dwarf entities, they are old entities, ancient entities. They predate a number of the traditions that now exist. And they are used to do work, I was speaking to a Kumina king in Eastern Jamaica, and he doesn't send dwarfs, he sends, in Kumina they speak of angels. That's the morphing with Christianity. And there are good angels and there are bad angels. He send angels. If you send a bad angel, you have to send a good angel with them to go and do work. Sometimes he sends them on aircraft to go overseas to do work for people. Sometimes they stay here in Jamaica to do work for people. This is how it is. He spoke of good obia as well as what he called dirty obia. We're not going to get into that. But, you know, the tradition is really rich, very deep, and it all depends on how you use it. So that, I think, is the end of this presentation. At this time, if there are questions.
Yes, indeed. Anyone with questions for Debon this morning? I see my co-host is here, finally.
Stop sharing.
Good morning. Hi, Franco.
Good morning.
Who is that? Is that Cecil? Good morning. And I have to say good morning, Mr. Panton.
Yes, good morning, my friend. How are
I you to go and do some homework. I realize that you come back hard at me this time. And you have cleared up all the things that I wanted to be cleared.
Okay.
But now you send me off to a different level again because now you're gonna tell me.
That's how knowledge is, you know. Once something is answered and you vacuum opens up that needs to be filled. That's how it is with knowledge. So we never stop learning. Yeah.
Right. So I have a question for you. In terms of all these sacrifices and practices that is done in the different countries that you spoke of, are they legal to do so? Is it a legal sacrifice?
Okay, well, in terms of like...
Do that here in Jamaica, you know, if you do that here in Jamaica, eyes pop open and ears start blow steam and a bag of something.
Absolutely.
So is it legal in these countries?
The Eid al-Adha is legal in Saudi Arabia. The Arabian countries, it's part of the tradition. These are Islamic countries. It's part of the tradition. So too is the kapara thing with the Jewish in Israel. That is part of their tradition, and it's also done in the States as well.
Okay.
In Jamaica, sacrifices are not legal. You know,
no.
Jamaica is predominantly a Christian country, and so any tradition outside of Christianity is deemed as obia, and it is deemed as wrong or against the law. But it does take place just the same, you know.
Right.
So
in all honesty, if I am sitting down and I see you take out one of those small dolls with a whole lot of pins like that, I am going to run for my life without no joke.
No, well, you will never see me take out one of those. I don't practice the Congolese spiritual tradition. And I'm not into dolls, you know. I get your point. If you're here in Jamaica, and you probably would more likely see someone from the Kumina tradition with it. But then it all depends on what they're doing.
Right. I noticed you spoke about Haiti most of the times. Is that one of the main origin countries that produces these type of rituals?
No, it was not my intention to give the impression that Haiti is, the main instigator. It wasn't. It's just that because we spoke about voodoo and we spoke about Haitian voodoo last week, I centered it there. But I did mention that, last week I made mention that some of these practices also take place in Louisiana voodoo. And today I made mention that the tradition called Wicca, which is European, also uses dolls, and hoodoo, which is another slant of voodoo.
That's another slant, right. And the languages, this is my last question. The languages I hear you talking about, these are practiced in the different countries, the different...
Remind me what languages you're talking about.
You can't call them, man.
What do you mean? The kaparot is Israeli. The Eid al-Adha is Arabic, sorry. And that's just the name of the ritual. It's not, it's just the name of the sacrifice. For Yoruba land is Eboriru, which is really a Yoruba word for sacrifice.
Okay.
As I said, each country, they have their own local language. Not everybody speaks English. And the name will vary depending on what language they speak. They will have a different name for it. It all depends on the language that they speak is, but it's the same ritual, same thing, yeah. blood sacrifice is blood sacrifice.
Thank you so much. I think you cleared up my questions. And don't worry, I'll be sending you more questions. You got to do some more research.
Root them through Flavius, not a problem.
No problem. All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Debon, I have a question. Are you saying that Christians don't practice rituals?
No, Christianity has its own rituals. Like, for instance, the baptism, that's a ritual.
Okay.
The wedding vows and, you know, the lighting of the candle. I don't know if you know the circle, the candle, where they take the bride has one candle and it's lit. The groom has another candle and that is lit. And they hold both candles and take to light another candle in the middle.
Okay.
So they're now joining together as one. You know, that's a ritual too.
Okay.
What Christianity does not do, though, they do not participate in blood rituals. But blood rituals is just one kind of ritual. They have other kinds of ritual. Damn, the Holy Communion is a ritual.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Symbolic, the blood is wine. Symbolic, flesh is the bread or biscuit, whatever they use.
I know, because I know that the unleavened bread, they call it. It turns from, you know, the significance of it is like it now become the body, and then the wine become the blood.
There you go. Right.
So that's why I asked you.
Symbolic on it. They do it symbolic, but you won't find them using real blood. They won't slaughter an animal and bleed it on the altar. Christianity doesn't participate in that. And they most definitely do not practice human sacrifice. And not many traditions across the world does that. Although, unfortunately, there are still some that do it.
Yeah, okay. You know, last week, Miss Lee mentioned something about kumina. So that you remember when she was growing up, they used to use kumina as an evil, to do a lot of evil. Yeah. And here you mentioned it not too long about, if I'm not mistaken, the dolls.
Yeah, the dolls.
Yeah, it's they use it in kumina as well.
Yeah, what you'll find in kumina in Jamaica may not necessarily look exactly like the Nkisi power figures that I showed.
Okay.
Because as they are now in the Congo, and that is where the root is. What do you find here? Maybe something, maybe looking closer to the Haitian Vodun doll, you know, because they would have changed over the years. You know, having been so far away from the Congo, and not having been in touch with the Congo for the last 300, maybe 400 years, some changes have actually gone into some of the traditions, and you know, things look differently. They're interpreted differently. In all honesty, I don't know of a kumina healer who uses the Nkisi power figures, but Francine had said that, you know, if she were to see me take out an Nkisi power figure, she would run. And I'm saying she wouldn't see me with that. You know, if anybody in Jamaica would be seen with something like that, it would perhaps more be the kumina, and it's simply because they are connected to the Congo, not because I know of them doing it. You know?
But in all honesty, every religion have a ritual that they practice. You know?
And they have many rituals.
Every one of them. That's something I know of. So whether you're Christian or, you know, you're Islam or whatever, but it's in different fashion.
Yeah. And yes, Cecil, you have to believe. Belief is part of the whole tradition. Last week you asked about belief. It depends on the person's belief. Well, the reason for belonging to a spiritual tradition or for practicing it is because you actually believe it works. If you try it and it doesn't work, you're going to try to find something else which works for you, you know? So the belief is there. Just as in Christianity, it says all you have to do is believe. Same thing with other spiritual traditions across West Africa. You believe in them, and you know, you practice them. That's how it is.
Well, talk about belief. When I was a boy or a young man, anytime I hear about any kind of sickness or disease, no matter what it is,
yes,
and I hear about the different symptoms of that affliction, for some reason, I always have that disease.
You?
Yes. I just have to hear or read the different symptoms.
And you start feeling them?
I start feeling them.
Okay. there's a condition, I think it's called psychosomatic, where you actually read of something and you start experiencing what you believe. The easiest way to explain it would be like what the gynecologists call a false pregnancy, where a woman so badly wants to become pregnant that she starts getting a sensitivity in her breast, and when she look at herself in the mirror, her stomach starts rising to her and she feels pregnant. But when she goes to the doctor and they do whatever scanning that needs to be done, it's called a false pregnancy, in which, her mind, her brain tells her body to begin to feel the symptoms because, she so badly wants it. No, I don't think you badly wanted to experience these illnesses.
No, not really. But some reason, I don't know, until now, I still cannot understand why it happens to me. Yeah. Even with this COVID-19 things going on, and you would read that certain things, certain thing happen to you. It's
the dry cough, the fever, the joints.
That's right. I started having dry cough and sore throat and all that,
Yeah.
And if I go to the bathroom too regularly, I say,
All right. Initially asked about belief. There's a scholar, David Hume. He identified 9 different types of beliefs of the David Hume Society. I think he lived in the 1800s or early 1900s. These have been consolidated down, I think, to 2 or 3. I don't quite remember what they are now. I wasn't prepared to discuss that issue. But what it spoke about was you believe something you think about that reminds you of something that you experience or something that you could have experienced in the past. And so it becomes real in your mind. That in a nutshell is what it is, where you hear of something and it connects you with another experience. So you believe that that is what is happening. And the body and the mind work in such a way that it causes you to actually feel like you're actually going through that experience. That could be what you are talking about when you hear of the symptoms of the COVID-19, and you start feeling that you have the symptoms, etc. Like I said, I wasn't prepared to speak about beliefs today. It's a very wide subject area. Not able to help you much more beyond that, in all honesty. But I know the whole business of, I think it's psychosomatic, where you hear something and you start feeling it, and you start believing that you have it. Many people, the threat of cancer is so great that many people have heard of the symptoms and suddenly start feel like they have it, and they're afraid to go to the doctor because they don't want to get their affirmative, because they are convinced that they're suffering from cancer. I know somebody who was like that at one time. We had to literally drag her kicking and screaming to the doctor, and it wasn't anything. It was a case of a terrible case of heartburn. For her, it was cancer of the stomach, because she was reading about it.
Yeah. Yes. You always hear people say, belief kills and belief cure.
Yes, belief kills and belief. That is why doctors give you what they call placebos, where some tablets like those sugar pills, they don't do anything. But because you get a medicine from the doctor, and let us say you have a headache, and the doctor prescribe a headache medicine, and you believe in the doctor so much that the sugar pill, it doesn't do anything, but the placebo actually heals you. The mind does that.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell you this? When I first to begin, when I found out that I was 3 months pregnant, I was not fit before, so I wasn't feeling any form of sickness, any form of anything at all.
Yes.
And the first time I do the test, I realized I was pregnant. Instant vomiting, extra big. I start walking and rocking on the real pregnant side. And I was fine all the way up until I did the test. And the very first day I did the test, bad feelings start take me. I feel like I pass out, everything just start go wrong the very first day.
Yeah.
And all of that took place after I was all excited and stuff. But then afterwards, when the reality kicked in, that listen, you're pregnant, you know.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I start having morning sickness. I start
quickly and all of that. Yeah.
Everything come to me. So I guess that's a part of the. Yep.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Excuse. This is a little off topic.
Yes.
Can anybody tell me or remind me the general location of Allman Town? I just can't remember where it is, where Allman Town is.
It's in Kingston near.
I thought
you know where South Camp Road is?
That is Ray Town. That's what I had in mind. Where
across from Hero Circle.
But I remember, no, that's not. So I can't remember or get it in my head, the general location of Allman Town.
It's across from Hero Circle going down Moresco Road. In and around the Ministry of Finance and over the other side, behind it. That general area.
Well, I haven't been in Jamaica for a long time, so you have to be a little more precise if you can.
Ansley's not here. If Ansel was here, Ansel
might be able to equate Allman Town.
Flavius,
I can tell him.
Help him out.
Yeah, man. If you remember the bottom camp gate. The bottom camp gate. Upper camp. Yeah, the bottom camp gate. It is just if you are going up, it is just to the left of that community to the left of
South Camp
of the camp gate. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, going up Camp Road or South Camp Road.
South Camp Road.
How far up do you go? Going up towards Crossroads area.
No, not so far up. I think
not so far up.
Pretty much close before you get to the vicinity, like you're going to Vineyard Town area.
Okay, Vineyard Town, I remember.
Yeah, so you go across from South Camp, where Gun Court is. On your left hand side, that would be Allman Town. It wasn't there when Gun Court did. Oh.
If you're going up South Camp Road, instead of going right to Vineyard Town, you're going up to Upper Camp area now.
You go left. No, it's not going right to the area. Go left. You go left to Allman Town.
On the left, from Upper Camp, that's Allman Town?
Yeah, that's a part of Allman Town.
No.
Yeah,
but it's on the other side. On the other side.
It's on the left.
On the other side.
On the left. So you pass Sabina Park and come further up. And instead of make the left, instead of make the right going to Vineyard Town, you go more on the left. And that would take you to Allman Town. You remember where Lanimal Sweet Factory used to be?
Not really. I remember a sweeter factory down on East Queen Street. That's not it.
Oh, no,
that's not Lanaman's. No.
But it's over there. Okay. It's part of...
Is it close? Is it close to Woodford Park?
Yes. It's pretty close to Woodford Park.
Yes.
And so it would be near to a race course then?
Yes.
Or what used to be race course?
In the race course vicinity,
That general area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Over by where they have the Ministry of Finance, over where they have the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education on that side.
No, I don't remember those.
You don't remember
Maybe they weren't
Company
there at the
either?
time.
You don't remember Gleaner
time.
Company?
Just in case, I haven't been to Jamaica for 40 years.
Okay.
So a lot of things that is some at general area is Not there anymore because now they don't have cycle sports at race course. Do they still have race course?
Yeah, race course is still there.
And they have cycle sports there?
No, not anymore.
Oh, okay. But then Alman is close by.
Yeah, man, Almontown is close by on the other side. Not on the Wolmer's side, but on the side, what you call that area? That's where Ministry of
You
Education.
mean Slipe Road?
No, not
or Slipe Road?
Not that far. Not that far. You're outer boundary right there. So if you go Slipe Road.
Okay, now, Tarrington Bridge.
If you come Tarrington Bridge area and you pass Wolmer's, boys and girls, that just continue straight and you go right over into Almontown.
So you're going to eat. Okay, all right. It's east of race course then.
Yeah, and you go right over into Almontown.
Yeah, go along Connolly Drive, go down into Almontown.
Okay, all right.
But if you know where Woodford Park is, Woodford Park is, you're pretty close. If you know where Woodford Park is.
Cecil, let me sum up everything for you. For you not to be here in 40 years, you will be lost. Because Jamaica changed 100%. So you're going to get lost. You're going to need a tour guide. Just remember that, all right?
The eras are still there, but the eras change. The eras are still there, but they change. Yeah.
Just the name. They still have the names, but that's it.
But inside changes.
Causeway Bridge usually have could just two vehicles, one going, one coming back.
4 lanes,
no.
yeah. It's 2 bridges, 4 lanes.
4 lanes now. And we have a lot of highways. So what usually takes us like 6 hours to go to Westmoreland and Hanover and Montego Bay, it takes us like 3 hours or probably 2.5.
3 hours? I mean, 6 hours to go where?
Okay, all right.
In Jamaica, take you 6 hours.
Well, I have an idea. I've been reading about the new highways and stuff like that because Portmore.
Yes.
Wasn't there. I wasn't there in my time.
Okay.
I left before Portmore on the causeway and things like that.
No, Portmore was there. A section of Portmore was there. You mean Greater Portmore wasn't there?
No, there was no Portmore.
Portmore wasn't there. Portmore wasn't there when Cecil leave.
No, it was. I don't know. I wasn't there. There was no Portmore there. It was just a big rock that we used to go fishing.
Open lands, yeah.
Yeah, just a big rock out in the sea.
Cane fields, right?
Pardon?
Cane fields were over there at that side, the old cane fields. Lands out which cane used to be. Yeah.
The Caymanas Park. They still have Caymanas down there?
It's still there.
Horse racing, they now have Sunday racing, I believe.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt the flavor of the talk.
No problem.
But I heard about it in the last time I was on because Mr. Writer, what's his name? Mercurius. Yeah. Mercurius. We're talking about Almontown, you know. The name I know, but I just couldn't equate the general ear. But now I know. I understand. Thank you very much.
Right.
Flavius, are you there?
Flavius? Let me see.
Okay.
Flavius, yeah. Flavius is still here. Flavius.
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm not hearing Cecil. I'm hearing you, but I'm not hearing anybody else.
Yeah. All right.
So. Okay, how about now? Can you hear now?
Yes, clearly, yes.
Okay, good. I was saying, trying to say thank you for your input.
Yeah, man. You're very welcome, man. You're very welcome. I will send you something later.
Okay.
Because if you come to Jamaica now, you would definitely get a culture shock. Everything is so different. Yeah, everything is so different.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
All right. That brings us to the end of today's discussion. DEBON, thank you very much.
No problem. Let me know again whenever you guys need me.
All right. Thank you very much. Cecil, thank you for taking time out as well. And my co-host, Francine, thank you for turning up as well. Flavius and all those in the chat room on YouTube, we thank all of you this morning for being a part of the discussion. And we ask that you join us tomorrow when we do it all over again on Wednesday. So sit and stay with us. We'll be right back.
All right, cool.
Walking on sand and holding your hand, feel like a tourist in my own homeland, in my own homeland, enjoying the bright, the warm sunlight. Oh my God, what a beautiful sight in my own homeland. This place is so nice, wanna do everything twice. Yes, I feel as if I'm in a paradise. No matter the season, you've got every reason.
Yes. So we come to the end of another Real Stuff podcast. And before we leave, I want to let you know that all of this that you heard this morning, you can view today's broadcast in a few hours from now. And if you missed last week, you can go back to part 1 by going into our YouTube channel and type in DEBON Panton Dwarfs, Sacred Dwarfs, aka Dwarf Spirit, and you can view part 1 before going to part 2. And if you like what you hear today, you can drop us a comment in the box below, and we'll certainly, fulfill your requests. Also, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Click the notification bell so that next time when we're on, you will get the notification and to join us live and direct each and every day, Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. U.S. time, Eastern time, and 11 a.m. Caribbean Eastern time, and 10 a.m. Jamaica time. So, as always, I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to leave you with some information from what we have to, what we have coming up. A matter of fact, I think Flavor's already outlined that, so I don't have to bother go through that again, right? Because he already outlined that. But live and love every moment of your life. Be grateful for each new day. Cherish your friends, family. Bless others. Keep the faith. Never lose hope. And remember, prayer changes things. Until next time, take care of yourself. In the Our Father, we give you this morning the Garifuna language from Queen Lubafo, and then Tafina with Tekwa myself to take us out.
You lead us so full. You belong far away away. Ajugwala lebo buseru. Lida mua, lida sungfula. Lida mua, lida sungfula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
Hey, All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer so rough. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me do what set me if it could flee. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi hide like a thief in the night. Me I fi get out outside. Me I fi take away me self. I fi take away myself. I have to utilize I wings. Show the eye cleave where I ease. I said, yeah, I find you very hard to resist. But this relationship I'm gonna desist.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
I know you think I play me, I play. But soon you're gonna see the light of day. Just relax, don't move an inch. I'll be gone in a pinch. May I feel take away myself. May I feel take away